And joining us here in Washington now, Democratic Senator from California and the chairwoman of the Intelligence Committee, Senator Dianne Feinstein. And in New York, Democratic Governor of Connecticut, Governor Dannel Malloy. Sam Stein is still with us here in Washington, along with Mike Barnicle and Reverend Al Sharpton back in New York. Good to have you all with us.
Senator, there's an issue that's been very personal for you going back to the mid-'70s. Yeah. How are you feeling now about some progress that's being made on the Hill? Hopefully. On the Hill. Does it go far enough, or do you have a lot of concerns?
I think the Hill is way behind the nation, and I think every public poll shows that. I think the important thing is that people stand up and vote on these measures. The problems aren't going to go away because we basically have a terrible regulatory system for these weapons. And everything has been done over the years by the pro-gun people to prevent an effective protocol for controlling these weapons, even to not letting the head of the ATF, there's no head right now. And Mr. Cordray, who's up for nomination, has been delayed. So everything is to work against an effective series
to stop
of protocols.
Enforcing the existing gun laws,
yes,
which a lot of people will say, why don't we just enforce the existing gun laws we have? Well, because for about a decade now, at least, there have been people on the Hill that have been fighting to stop that enforcement.
Right. And can a terrorist currently buy a gun in this country? Yes. Yeah. Can a felon? Yes. You go to a gun show and virtually no questions are asked.
So let's talk about the compromise right now that Joe Manchin is working with Pat Toomey about. What are your concerns?
Well, I haven't seen the bill, so I'm going to reserve my concerns. I only know what people have told me. Everything is a step forward. You know, we can't let the perfect be the enemy of the good, as has been said.
So let's then look at Connecticut. Governor Malloy, as you said, the rest of the country is way behind the Hill. Senator Feinstein.
Way ahead.
Way ahead. Connecticut appears to be as well, with the legislation that you have underway there. Really, really tough gun laws compared to what's happening in Washington.
Yeah, I'm proud of what we've done. We've moved the ball forward, I think, substantially for the nation. They can look at a state that's taken this thing on fairly seriously. Of course, we had to. I mean, we owed this to 20 children and 6 adults who were killed at Sandy Hook. I've gotten to know a lot of those families. I know that you folks have met some of them. They're wonderful people. They believe in what they're doing. I believe in what they're doing. We should have done this a long time ago. You know, we had an assault weapon ban in this country. We limited the size of magazines. We did the right thing, and somehow we rolled that back. It's time to get realistic. Listen, in a lot of states, Sudafed is more controlled than the sale of guns. Think about it.
Al Sharpton?
That's hard. It's just ridiculous. Reverend Al?
Senator Feinstein, you've actually led the fight in the country and in the U.S. Senate around this issue. If all we end up with is the background check, do you think that's a victory, or are you disappointed? Because many of us feel it at least starts the train on the right track. But how do you feel as the one that has led the country on this?
Well, Reverend Al, I think we are on a track. The question is to where, and it's not enough. I agree with that. What I've been surprised at, as the weapons grow more and more sophisticated over the time, and the kill power increases, and the availability of 100-round drums that can be fed into the weapons increases, that what you have is a situation, and Reverend, I've watched this over many years. These weapons are very attractive to people who want to remedy a grievance, who just want to kill. They're drawn to these weapons, and these weapons aren't hunting weapons. I mean, do you need a 30-round clip and an AR-15 to hunt? I don't think so.
You're a bad shot.
Yeah, well, that's a point.
Unfortunately, you just won't have any deer to cook.
You don't
get up.
have to aim.
That's right.
And so I don't understand, and I never have, why this nation is better, how we protect our people better with these weapons being so easily available. So the bill that I have, which is close to the Connecticut bill just signed by the governor, really doesn't take a weapon away from anybody. If they sell that weapon, there's a background check. If they keep that weapon, it has to be kept with a trigger lock and in a safe. And it exempts 2,258 weapons in 96 pages of bill language by make and model. What it does do is dry up the supply over time. And I was thinking this morning that if Mrs. Lanza had bought it wouldn't have been able to buy the gun during the period of time my last bill was in effect. So I have a hard time understanding the psychopathology in all of this. And I think the fact that virtually every single poll done has shown that Americans support a wide range of prudent gun regulation. And yet the fear, see, I think when I did this in the early 90s, there was no cloture. The view was this is an important issue. Senators should stand up and debate it on the floor. That's why we're here. We should vote on it. And in fact, that's what happened. There was a motion to table the bill. We won on the motion to table. The bill passed the Senate. It went to the House. It passed the House, and President Clinton signed it.
Mike Barnicle, it's amazing how things have changed. You had Wayne LaPierre supporting background checks in 1999 and 2000. George W. Bush supported trigger locks, an assault weapon ban, instant background checks. He reinforced that in 2004. All these people saying that the position that I am taking now is a radical position, or what Dianne Feinstein just said about assault weapons, trigger locks, background checks is radical, are really rewriting history, Mike. Things have gone backwards over the past 5-6 years. So now we have al-Qaeda terrorists saying, kill Americans. It's easy. Just go to gun shows.
Get an assault weapon.
Get an assault weapon.
Backwards at a too rapid rate, I think a lot of people would suggest. Governor, the Connecticut legislation that Senator Feinstein referred to, briefly outline the Connecticut legislation and what was the toughest part of the push to get the legislation passed?
Well, I think the toughest part was this desire to do it on a bipartisan basis, which took a lot of effort on the part of the legislative leadership to hold everyone in the room. This was negotiated by Republican and Democratic leadership. I was out, doing town hall meetings and beating the drum. I had released a 5-point plan that was really common sense. It was getting it over the goal line with bipartisan support. In fact, I think to some extent, one of the reasons that things seem to be happening in Washington is that at least one state did it with Republican votes. And it's hard to separate the Republican votes from the Democratic votes. Now, what's in it? I mean, you need a certificate to buy ammunition. You have to be approved to buy ammunition. We eliminate certain types of ammunition from being sold. We've raised the age with respect to buying guns. Everyone has to undergo a background check. No additional assault weapons can be sold in the state of Connecticut as I sit here. And we've limited the high-capacity magazines to those that are already present in our state. If you want to keep it, you're going to have to register it. We'll have a program underway by August 1st that will allow that to happen. In essence, what will happen is that that magazine will be marked, probably with a barcode. And if you don't have that barcode, after a certain date, you're committing a crime in our state of Connecticut. This is an aggressive package. I would have liked an out-and-out ban on large-capacity magazines. We didn't get that, but we got just about everything else. It is the toughest law in the nation. I'm very proud that Connecticut moved forward, but we needed to move forward. Listen, we are the situs of the worst one of these kinds of attacks. And let's go back to this. We're going to see these happen in post offices and movie theaters, in malls, in schools. Again, let's keep making as much progress as we can make, and that's hopefully what will happen in Washington, and we're going to come back to it.
Exactly. And Joe, he's done this in a state that is home of gun manufacturers and firearms associations. It can be done.
Not easy. Not easy to do. It's also not easy, Senator, for Democrats to talk about an issue that we've also talked about a lot, and that is violence in our culture. I've got 3 boys, 2 older. I've seen them growing up, and I've seen their friends. And as a father, you walk through the living room and you see these images. Yeah. Just these boys grow into young men, and they've seen thousands and thousands and thousands of simulated murders in video games, movies. You actually did something that really caught our attention a few days ago, and you talked about, yes, we need to talk about guns, but we really need to start talking about violence in American culture. Why did you do that? Well,
because I think the really violent video game becomes a kind of simulator to practice on, and it enables the individual to become much more familiar with that depiction of death and blood. Of course, it's not the way it is in real life.
Right.
So I think that's very hard. A point I really want to say congratulations to Connecticut. I know that's hard, and both Senators Blumenthal and Murphy have been just real leaders on this issue as well. Do you know that there is assault weapons legislation now introduced in 20 states this year? In America. So it is happening state by state by state. The problem's going to be that they're all different, and that's going to become a problem for so-called interstate commerce after a period of time. But I think right now it is the biggest thing in the nation. I spoke to people in California yesterday who said that this dominates the news, and so people have an opportunity to think about where they are. If they really do believe that these weapons should be sold on street corners, out of trunks, at gun shows, without adequate background checks, and whether they should be able to fall into the hands of juveniles and grievance killers.
And call your representative for sure. Senator Dianne Feinstein, thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Governor Daniel Malloy, congratulations. Thank you.
Thank you, Dan.
Very much.